Cheers isn't the only place where everyone knows the name. Arizona State's defensive line room returns nearly the entire three deep from last year's Big 12 championship squad. Plus, they've added a few new talented pieces over the offseason. This all sets up quite well for position coach Diron Reynolds, who's entering his second year in Tempe. On this episode, Coach Reynolds gives a detailed breakdown of his players, the keys to improving the pass rush, the value of such a veteran room, Kenny Dillingham's unique approach to spelling, and so much more. So let's get to it. Here's my conversation with Diron Reynolds. All right, Coach, thanks for joining. Let's start off with just obviously an extended season into January, but of course, the life of a college football coach is always busy. What's the offseason been like? Obviously with the long season heading into spring ball, recruiting never stops, retention, of course, going on, as well as trying to squeeze in a little bit of family time.
Well, the biggest thing is the retention. So glad the guys, came back. Especially my group, looked like we're pretty deep. I like the way we got it headed into the spring. Like the way we entered it, and I just look forward to these guys just continue to build on what we worked on.
How do you think the team, especially with so many returning faces, has really kind of handled the success and, maybe trying to, build upon that and not focus on it too much as they have, of course, a new set of new goals for a new season?
I think the guys, the ultimate goal is to win it all. I think the guys do a good job of, not focusing on the long term deals, but just focusing on the day to day. I think if you aim small, you miss small. You just continue to churn away and do the things you need to do to get back, just to have opportunity to win it again. But I think the guys are doing a really good job. The day to day, Coach Joe's got them down there. They're stronger, they're faster, they're more cued in on the keys and what they need to do. I like the way they're progressing right now.
Of course, one of the big parts of your offseason every year is the pass rush summit. Just some of the best edge guys in the world gathering together and talking shop. What were some of the big takeaways from this year's version?
I mean, there are always some major takeaways. The guys go back to the old school stuff, and the number one thing is finding the keys and being able to get off the ball. I mean, you can alleviate a lot of pass rush moves if you just time the ball up and get off the ball right. It's funny because everybody watches everybody across the league. And I get the opportunity to study these guys. We have PFF, and our guys study the top guys every year, and just picking up new moves. Whether it's inside stab or outside stab, or a new way to spin, whether it's power spin, how to set it up. Um, I learned from these guys more probably the game within the game,
Hmm.
what they see, how they talk to each other, and how they study each other from week to week to be able to get those sacks.
Of course, your football is always evolving and things are changing. As time goes on, nothing ever is stagnant. So, what football things, whether it's a technique, a trend, philosophies, what things are you really kind of finding most interesting recently?
I mean, the biggest thing, for me is just I think I missed the whole era of the non-mobile quarterback. You um, you wanted those lawn deers back there where you could just go rush them and you knew where they're going to be. But the capability of all these quarterbacks, you got to evolve the rush, the way you rush guys. And you hear the guys, at this last pass rush summit, really talking about how they rush together. Being able to create a net around the quarterback. I mean, that's always been, but it's even more crucial and critical now. For guys to be paired up on each side, knowing what the lanes are and being able to rush as a group and not really caring who gets the sack as long as the group gets the sack. That's been the biggest takeaway here of late.
So, of course, heading into your second year working on Coach Kenny Dillingham's staff, what have you seen from him? Obviously, still one of the younger coaches in the entire country, but obviously, pretty impressive accomplishments on his young resume, and of course, heading into year two now with the program, having some expectations.
Well, I mean, he brings a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, I love it. The guys, he creates a buzz in the building all the time, which is great. Just brings that consistent energy all the time, and it's really good. It's good for the players, good for the coaches, and he always brings a lot of ideas our ways. As his offensive perspective, and he walks in our room all the time as a defense and just shows us how he sees things. and shows us how to beat them. And it's great because we go back and forth offense and defense, and it's going to be a battle all preseason. But I mean, he helps us out because we make them better and they make us better. By his perspective.
Of course, Kenny's a very quotable guy. What's your favorite Kenny Dillingism?
I don't know. There's so many. I mean, I don't know. It's funny because I just listen to the guys quote him around here. It's really funny. I just like to hear him make fun of himself about spelling. I mean, he really makes fun of himself about how he misspells stuff. And he's a really bright guy. And like, yeah, I look at him sometimes, I kind of shake my head. I'm like, you're kind of doing that on purpose. You know, he's a really really bright individual. So it's fun to see him make fun of himself as well.
So, maybe on the same side of that coin, what's Reynoldsism? What's something that your players might say that you're really one of your favorite go-to quotes?
Oh man, one win we all win. I try to preach unity. Let me see. Fake it till you make it. You might not feel like doing it every day, but hey, come with that anyway. Fake it till you make it. Um, Shoot, there's a bunch of them. I'm not sure. I quote a lot of other people. I mean, I like other people's quotes and whatnot, but I'm sure I have a bunch of idiosyncrasies that they could get up and pick at me about as well.
All right, so I wanted to touch on last season a little bit. So at what you've been around, Super Bowl championship caliber teams that have hoisted the trophies. At what point last year did you know that this 2024 group of Sun Devils was special and could accomplish some big things?
Well, coming out of spring, I thought we were pretty good. I just didn't know. I mean, I looked at our offensive line. I always kind of tell the tape is when you watch our offensive line, our defensive line go against each other. Coach Tuatelli does an outstanding job, and with all the stuff that they bring and the technique and whatnot, they give us a whole lot of different looks, and we managed it pretty well. And they busted something on us too, but it made us better. Um, as we continue to go into the season, I just felt like we were kind of feeling our way through. I think there was a really tough game. I think we don't really give it as much credit as we did, but that Kansas game at home was a big one for us. That was a tough team. That was a really tough team coming in. They were well coached, really good scheme, and I think we weathered the storm with them and were able to pull that one out. And I think the big turning point where we kind of figured out who we were during the season was the Kansas State game. We went in that environment and really just from start to finish pretty much dominated.
When you look back upon everything that happened in that magical run, what were some of your favorite moments that you look back upon now that you've had some time, kind of look back and cherish most?
Oh, the interception at the end of the game, of the BYU game. That's just chaos. I would never forget that with having everybody on the field and trying to get them off, and then it's coming down to tooth and nail right at the end of the game. That one be forever etched in my memory. Um, the end of the Kansas State game, just being in that locker room, and, watching our quarterback and our wide receiver on top dancing, and Coach Dillingham jumping around with him, dancing at the end of the game. Those memories will be forever etched in my mind.
Now, when you look back upon the D line, the collective performance throughout 2024, what were some of the big takeaways there? Some things you thought your guys did well, some things that looking back could have done better.
Well, I'm gonna start with what we could have done better. I mean, we got to get the quarterback down. We had a bunch of. I mean, you go back and look at the tape. We had a bunch of opportunities, but we're just dead to rights and just don't get them down. And we got to find ways to get that. We're going to work on some things this offseason to be able to do that. Being able to finish. Um, Guys, we don't need to leave sacks on the table. The other thing is, we need to continue to work on is, just being able to stunt more consistently, better and cleaner. I think that got better as the end of the season, but I just don't think we started off as well. But doing well, man, I think we did a really good job of stopping the run. I think our guys really took hold of that. I mean, you hear Coach B. Ward talk about the spine of our defense, and that's our interior guys. I think the spine of our defense is really strong, and that takes a lot of pressure off everybody around us. And if we can continue to do that with limited movement and some really big movements, I think we'll be right back in the mix again this year.
Of course, you came to a program that was coming off a pretty rough season, and then obviously the success that you guys were able to put together, and seeing the sold out stands, the hundreds of fans lining the buses, as you guys are arriving and departing the facility. What was it like just having that front row seat to seeing as Kenny likes to say, the valley finally being activated?
I mean, it's great. It's great for the fans. I mean, this place has been, I think, been waiting for this for a long time, and it's just good to see how they've embraced us. Getting off the buses and coming back from the championship game, and everybody's lined up there late at night, and just waiting on us. I mean, and sending us off, in grand fashion. That means a lot. It means a lot to the kids. Really means a lot to us, and we love to keep that going, keep that energy going right there.
And when you look back upon the experience of 2024, how do you feel that you kind of grew and evolved as a coach, through last season?
Well, just learning your guys. I mean, this is the whole age of getting guys out of the portal, and you got to find ways to bring guys together fast and to get them up to speed and focus fast. I mean, we had guys come in after spring ball that you have to coach, and um, that's the biggest challenge. Trying to get everybody on the same page fast, a new group, and like I said, it's rare for us to have the same group again, but you could go from year to year and have a different room every year now. It's possible, but that's the biggest challenge now. Finding your group, knowing what buttons to press, finding out how they learn, trying to get them up to speed as fast as can, and then simplifying it as quickly as possible too, so you can get the results that you need.
Of course, the life of a college football coach is very hectic, as we touched on top. So much stuff going on at all times. But for you, what's the most rewarding part of the coaching grind?
Well, the biggest part for me, I mean, all I wait is to look and see the tape. I mean, I can't wait to come in every day to walk in the meeting room and sit here and watch the tape and see how these guys progress. Because our job as coaches, I feel like my job is to get them to be the best that they think that they want to be. We just try to get them to be the best that they can be, and you just want to see those incremental changes every day that they're working and grinding at, and then those days where they have those aha moments when you've been preaching stuff over and over again, and all of a sudden it just sparks and it makes sense, and the game slows down for them. That's all you want. I mean, you get that, everything else falls into place.
So we touched on top a little bit, but Kenny's comments, recruiting is dead and retention is what it's all about. What is it like just these days as a coach, where the retention obviously is such a crucial aspect, and obviously you guys have had such great success and keeping some faces around in Tempe for year after year. But how has the staff kind of pivoted to that approach where retention is just kind of the lifeblood of a program?
I mean, if I just truly believe, and I think Kenny does too. I mean, if you're just doing the right things by the kids and you're not too far off with everything else that's going on in college football, there's no reason for anybody to want to leave here. Um, we have great coaches on the staff. I mean, if you're trying to you know get to the NFL, I mean, you got guys that can actually get you there. We're going to do things that make sense. We're going to do things to get you better. We're going to do things to that you value. And if, as long as we continue to do the things that you value, this should be the place that you want to be. We're about building guys. We're not, we don't have to go get guys that are so-called ready-made, with all the stars. We want you to bring your lunch pail. We want to bring your hard hat and come to work and have more fun working harder than anybody else in the country. That's all we want. You do that, this is the place for you.
It's also another great Dillyism there, with that. Have you ever had this level of returning experience and kind of had the luxury of just so many veteran guys? I mean, I believe outside of a couple exceptions, almost all of the three deep is
Yeah,
back.
I mean, the only place I've ever had that, obviously in the pros, but those guys under contract and they're going to be there. But
Yeah.
in college, no. This has been the first place I've had these many senior guys that are going to be in the same room, which is good. And the biggest challenge is going to be is just managing the room. And I'm honest with them in the room. Egos, we got to put them out the way. If somebody's got the hot hand and you're in the too deep, they're going to get the call, and that's the way it's going to be. But I think the guys respect the process. I think they respect each other, and I think as long as you're honest with them and they see the accomplishments, they'll continue to stick to the grind the same way.
How do you see that chemistry and rapport, in that defensive line room kind of having built over the last year or so? I mean, it seems like, in practice, like I'll usually stake out near your group just because it seems like they have a lot of fun. There's some smack talk, some good natured ribbing and such, but obviously, guys that seem to be really in gear and collectively have the same mindset.
Yeah, they do, man. These guys are really hungry to do this thing again. I mean, like I said, I think they enjoy what they're learning, but I think they more so they enjoy the process and they enjoy each other, and that's big. I mean, when you got a group that enjoy actually being around each other, we're gonna spend some time together this evening, but I truly believe that if they enjoy being around each other and not just tolerating each other. I mean, I call them up and find out what they're doing, and they're sitting around playing Call of Duty together. Or if they're not in the same room, they're finding ways to connect. But I think this group does a good job of trying to connect on their own, and I mean, even with other people outside our room as well.
What were some of your key objectives for your group during spring practices, and how do you feel that the line ultimately managed them?
The big things the pass for me was the pass rush. We harped on the pass rush. How we rush. When we making certain moves, rushing together, pairing things with being more vocal and having conversations with the guys on their side. So you've been around each other enough where you can give somebody a wink or a nod so they'll know what you're doing. That's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is communication. We're on the same page. One of our big slogans right now is, four equals one. Four guys are rushing. We got to all rush as one. We got to rush together. So we got to be able to, the more we're able to do that and communicate and openly communicate, we'll be a whole lot better.
And of course, coming off of spring ball into the summer months, where obviously so much crucial work gets done. What were some of the things that you've seen your group, your guys do over the course of these summer months and the conditioning programs, and just the things that we in the media and the fans don't get to see, but you see them over the summer. How do you feel that they've progressed so far?
The biggest thing, just team wise and with our guys, is them not being afraid to call each other up. They'll somebody's doing something wrong, whatnot. Hey, they're on them right immediately, both sides of the ball, which is great. And the biggest thing is, they're starting to receive it. Whereas before, a year or so ago, somebody would get on somebody about something or not get on somebody about something, nothing to be said. A lot of that came from the coaches. But Coach Dillingham, preaches this being a player-led team, and if they don't lead each other, it doesn't matter. And I think we see more of that type of leadership throughout the team that everybody wants to get it right.
What kind of impact is working with Vince Amy as a assistant D line coach had over the last year?
Been really good, man. I think we play off each other, really well, with the guys, and not only that is with the way we work the guys, because when we go to practice, we get a chance to touch them all. The way we do it, we'll take two different groups. There's certain things that I want to work on, and certain things that he has to work on with the guys, and we'll rotate through like a county fair. So it's been a real smooth process. We bounce all ideas off each other. He'll bring a tape in here and show, hey man, did you see this? I'll do the same thing. Hey man, did you see this? So and so ran this against them last week. What do you think about this? And then we'll present it in the meeting. So all that stuff has been really good. Just the way that we conversate and the way we talk about football, technique and everything else, and the way we talk about our guys and the rapport that we have.
All right, so now I'd love to get your kind of brief comments on the guys in your room, just your thoughts on where they are right now, and perhaps the expectations heading into this upcoming season. Starting off with Clayton Smith, a guy who I was chatting with him at Media Day in Dallas a couple or last week, and mentioned that he's added some good weight, but obviously on the Pat Tillman Leadership Council as well. Where do you see Clayton Smith heading into
Well, the
2025?
biggest thing for Clayton was to put on weight, and I continue to challenge him with that. Just the way he plays and how hard he throws his body around, just the wear and the tear of the season, and the more dominant he could be at the point of attack. The guy can run like a deer, so I can't wait to see him run around on that field. I think he's strengthening himself leadership wise. Again, he's on the leadership council this year, and I think he's being more vocal in even more positive ways this year as well.
And then on the flipping on their side of the line, Prince Dorba, where do you see him coming off of 2024 heading into this
Well,
season?
coming into this season, I'm just glad Prince is healthy. He came off, I think, a knee or something last year, but he just continues to get stronger and stronger. And I mean, I like his leadership, his playfulness. He keeps it light in our room, which is good most of the time. And we give each other a hard time, but he knows when to turn it on and turn it off, and he knows when to make it light. I think that's been really good. The way he handles himself in the room. He's asking great questions right now in the room. I mean, he asks the hard questions in the room about technique and the way we're doing things, and he questions things a lot. We give these guys open platform to question what we do because we want them to have the full understanding of it. So he's been really good with that.
And speaking of keeping things light, a very funny guy in Justin Watley, versatile performer, guy you can kind of move around different spots along the line. Where do you see him in his second year as a Sun
Well,
Devil?
I can't wait to see. We put a lot on Justin. I mean, he does play inside and out. In our third down package, we'll put him inside, and if we're in a pinch, to have to put him in three technique on first and second down, he can do that as well. But I love the way he's growing. Love the way he's talking out there. His pass rush has gotten so much better in the off season. Really powerful off the edge. But I like the way he's moving, trying to get his inside rushes so much cleaner. That's where he needs to show up this season with his inside rushes on third down. We got to get him making more plays and wreaking more havoc inside.
And thanks to a ruling there that gave another year to Elijah O'Neal. Obviously, he had some good moments last year. Near the top of the team in sacks overall. Where do you see him kind of building upon that momentum?
I think he's going to continue to build on his pass rush. His pass rush, I think he's one of the harder guys to defend because he gets off the ball so well and he's so strong and so powerful at the point. So I think guys going to have problems trying to figure out whether he's going to run by him or is he going to run over you. I like what he's doing with that. The way he changes it up. Sort of like a pitcher. I think he's developing a really good feel for who he is as an edge rusher.
Sliding inside a little bit, CJ Fight had a breakout season a year ago, got some all conference honors there. How do you see him poised, and what does he need to do to take that next step?
I want his next step is being more dominant in the pass rush game. I got to get him better in the pass rush. He's very powerful inside. I mean, I think he's probably the best run stopper in our conference. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there. I don't see anybody else in this conference doing what CJ does inside. But the next step is for him to be able to stay on the field on third down to be able to rush the passing force as well. Because I think he can flip some of that power and that speed. Trying to get on top of the quarterback.
And then a very vocal guy and Jacob Kangaika, called the multiplier for just what he brings it from rapport, but also another big body inside. Where do you see him kind of coming off
Well, he's
last year?
definitely the multiplier, man. He brings that juice every day. He gets guys going. He gets guys amped. Anytime we need a little juice, you can count on Jacob with the good chi hoo. So, but Jacob coming up, he really wants to get more involved in the pass rush, and he's been working hard on that. He's been dominant in the run as well. Those two inside have been killing people inside with the run. I expect more of the same this year. But I got to get both of those guys to be able to push the pocket for us with those big bodies, taking some of that air out of the pocket for our edges, so we can all get to the quarterback together.
And Zach Swanson coming back home to the Valley a season ago. Unfortunately, got a little dinged in spring, but looks or sounds like he might be good to go at least. As the season draws near. Where have you seen Zach's growth since he's arrived in Tempe?
Zach got better to run. I mean, you can see his development with Coach Joe in the weight room um, has really transformed him on the football field. Um, I always say that when you get stronger, it breeds confidence. And I don't think early on he had confidence in some of the techniques that we were using, but as he got stronger, you could just see it starting to show up on tape. He needs to continue to trigger the same way over and over, and you could just see by the end of spring he was becoming dominant in playing the run.
and a couple of other veterans on that roster. Blazing Lono Wong, obviously, has some receiving chops as the world saw, in that trick play, and also Ian Shule as well. Where do you see those guys fitting into the
Those
rotation?
guys will be right there in the mix. I mean, no Ian's always on ready. He's going to add some in the pass rush as well because Ian shows some good pass rush ability, really sneaky pass rush ability. And Blazing has just been kind of a big, strong, steady hand. I mean, he's a guy that you can just count on in a pinch. He's a guy that you can count on every down, and he's going to get a lot more run this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he continues to grow. It's starting the game is really starting to slow down for him, and you're able to see some of his power on tape. And I think the whole world saw his athletic ability catching that ball running down the sideline on that punt.
One guy that really caught my eye during spring, because a lot of the veterans, were kind of, not given necessarily the as big of a workload, letting some of the younger guys get at it. And I think Roman Petrie seemed to be really kind of taking advantage of that opportunity, and always, kind of every practice seemed to be in my notes a lot. Where do you see him, potentially fitting
Roman's
in?
had a heck of a spring. I mean, he's been rushing the passer really well. A lot of people don't understand that Roman's only been playing D line for a year. I mean, like literally. So his progress has been um, magnificent. I mean, the way he's changed his stance, been working on the stance, the way he gets off the ball, his understanding of the defense now, and now the biggest thing, he's starting to know how to use his length. He's a really long guy. I think he's probably had more batted balls than anybody in the spring because he just once he makes his move, and if he can't get there, he get those long paws up and he's batting balls down all over the place. But I like the way he's progressing. I can't wait to see what he does this fall, just adding his weight on and being able to contribute.
Of course, a veteran piece like Anthony Cooper, making his way back from an injury. Good to see him in spring practice. Get more involved, get back onto the field. Where do you see that veteran presence
It's
fitting in?
kind of hard to figure out what Coop's gonna fit, which is a good problem to have. But Coop is kind of utility man. Coop can do it all. I mean,
Mhm.
I can close my eyes and put him in the game, and I know he's gonna do it right wherever we put him. So Coop's gonna have the ability to be in on first and second downs, a three technique. He's gonna have the ability to flip at the edge, and he's gonna have the ability to jump inside and give us some pass rush on third down too. Um, Really, really veteran guy, really smart guy. Um, he'll be a quarterback for us when he's on the field.
And one of the guys that was brought in through the transfer portal, another local guy, Mike Keel Gardner. I believe a little bit limited in spring as he was kind of working his way back from on the health front, but got out there a little bit. What have you seen from him? In his limited time during spring, and over the last couple months
I
in the
think
summer.
Markel's doing a really good job learning what we do, how we do it, just the process, and that's been the biggest part of it. But he's picking it up. You can see him now this part of the year in the walkthroughs to see what he's kind of retained. I got to see him in pass. I can't wait to see him in pass. But he's really probably going to be one of our more twitchy inside guys. Love the way he gets off the rock. Love the way he moves. And I'm just looking forward to him to have some pass rush ability too.
And then a trio of redshirt freshmen, Albert Smith, Leslie Manu, and Ramar Williams. Where have you seen them? Obviously, it's and where do you see like kind of the difficulty of having such a veteran, heavy experienced group, but also some young guys in there? How do you try to get them a little bit involved as over the course
Well,
of
the
the
young
season?
guys know their role. I mean, they know it's going to be hard for them to get in, which is fine. But what we need to see from them as we can, just continue to go is just their growth. When they're in there, when you do get your reps, you got to show up. Leslie is going to be a steady, strong edge for us. I mean, I can see him kind of in the mode of like Elijah, being really strong off that edge and being able to rush, being able to have some speed rush ability and being powerful as well. Ramar's been turning into a quietly turning into a beast inside. Like the way he's playing the three technique, but I think he's going to maybe end up like a swing guy, like a Watley. I think he's going to be able to play inside and outside as well. Um, smart guy's going to be able to retain that, and he's been really, really good with his pass rush. And who was the last one that you mentioned? Oh yeah,
Albert
Albert,
Smith.
A3. Albert, you see him off the edge. His biggest thing has been able to just to add weight to him as he goes, so he don't get banged up so much. I think all those guys going to be able to contribute on special teams, but I think Albert brings something special with his pass rush and his twitch. He's different. He's really different. And I can't wait to see him put the weight on and continue to progress.
And then some newcomers that are coming in that have joined the program here in recent months since the close of spring. What were your thoughts on Rashad McKenzie, Josh Shanklin, and the freshman Deshaun Morgan?
Deshaun, workhorse. He comes in the building. He's studying all the time. I just watch his process. I love the young man's process. He's going to work hard, and I just can't wait to see what he grows into. Rashad, he came in, little ding right now, but I mean, coming out of high school, he was one of the top guys. He's one of the guys that you'll roll the dice on and see him come and put himself together and go ahead and grow. I like his demeanor. I like the way he's working to get himself back and to get out there and help us. I think he's going to be a pleasant surprise, later on. And help me one more.
And then the JUCO guy,
Oh yeah,
Josh
Josh.
Shanklin.
So Shank is a basketball guy. I mean, he hadn't been playing football that long. So he's one of those guys you just turn on the tape and you see him move, and you see the movement, you see how slippery he is. He's a guy that you just want to invest in and teach. I think he's going to have a chance to be a really good pass rush in this league. But just time will tell. Can't wait to see how they grow. Can't wait to see, for them to stay down in that weight room. All the young guys that we just talked about, all the new guys that we just mentioned, getting some time under their belt with Coach Joe and them building them up. And then can't wait to see how fast they learn this.
Of course, with fall camp opening up here pretty soon, what are some of the big questions that you want your group to answer over the course of the month leading into the opener against NAU?
Can we sack the quarterback? I want to know. Can we sack the quarterback? Can we sack him consistently? Can we play together? Can we play fast? Can we play without ego? Let all that out the door. Let everything be about the team. And I think as the season went on last year, that became what it needed to be. We need more of that, and that's what I'm looking for, is just to come out the blocks, doing that consistently. Who we discovered, who we were mid-season, is who we need to know who we are when we start with the first game.
Everybody knows the ultimate goal, is to win it all. But right now, when you're heading into this season, what do you feel like? What does success look like for the defensive line in 2025?
Success is embracing the day to day. That's success to me. When you come in day after day and you have your process and you try to do it right every day. If you don't do it right that day, you come back and fix it the next day. Having a process and sticking to your process is success to me. I think everything else will come. I think the D-line understands that. Everything else will come. But if we stick to our process and give everything that we got every day, all the wins and all the accolades that come along with that. And we just need to do that day by day.
I'd like to thank Coach Reynolds for taking the time to talk with me for this episode. Make sure you are subscribed to Speak of the Devils on the podcast platform of your choice for more great sit-down series episodes all off-season long. Be sure to follow me on all things social media at BDenny29.